Heidi, I'm going to start with you. As the administration and the Democrats try to shift, I think, the narrative, do you think that's a winning narrative, given what we're seeing happening around the country, and given some of the recent debates that have not been favorable for Democrats?
Well, I mean, I would tell you it's about time. It's about time that they start talking about the economy. I think that this summer they thought it was going to be a values-based election on reproductive rights. And I think they woke up when you started to see people come home to the issue they always come home to, which is the economy. And I think, here we are at the last hours of this campaign talking about something we should have been talking about a number of months ago. So it may be too little too late.
Grover? I'm curious, actually, as somebody who thinks about taxes and lowering taxes, how you think about what kind of message the GOP can offer at a time when we've seen what happened, for example, in Europe, or in the UK specifically, given the sort of push-pull of the bond market right now?
Well, if you look at the United States, not at the Europeans, which have not been doing terribly well, you've seen across the country in the 50 states, red states cutting taxes and doing extremely well. 5 states have moved to a single rate tax. In Illinois, in 2020, when Biden was elected, same day, the people of Illinois voted down a graduated income tax. The whole envy thesis of the modern Democratic Party voted down in Illinois. It's on the ballot again in Massachusetts this year. 5 times the people of Massachusetts have voted down, going away from a single rate flat tax towards a graduated or progressive tax. We'll see what happens this time, but the message across the states is one of states announcing they're moving towards phasing out the income tax. Take a look at the whole idea of inflation where it is. We're now bringing back the idea of ending the inflation tax on capital gains. Right. We don't tax inflation on your wages, but we do on capital gains. This is an idea that's passed the House in 1978, the Senate in 1982, and the Senate again in 1992. With Schumer on the floor praising it as a must-do bill, ending the taxation of inflation in your capital gains. There's a bill ready to go. Ted Cruz on the Senate side, Warren Davidson on the House side. This answers the question of how do you deal with Biden's inflation? The list of projects that Biden said he wanted to talk about or that you listed, he's been talking about those for 2 years. Those are losers. Stan Greenberg, Democratic pollster, said Biden's thing is killing his own message.
Hey, Heidi, real quick.
Well, first off,
can you lower taxes at a time when inflation's high?
First off, every state that is bragging about their surplus should send back the money that the federal government sent them, because you cannot divide a state revenue from federal revenue, given how intertwined they are. Secondly, I think it's always so interesting. No one ever mentions Kansas as an exact experiment that failed miserably. And no one mentions that we've got sales tax on consumers that is regressive at 7-8% in this country. If you want to give people a tax break, why not cut the sales tax? And finally, even the American Enterprise Institute said that a tax cut at this point would be inflationary and not a good idea. So there's a whole lot to unpack in what just got said, and we don't have a lot of time to do it.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.